Another twist in the US presidential race, this time from the American state of Maine. It has disqualified former President Donald Trump, the second American state to do so. The first one was Colorado. It barred Trump last week. Now it's Maine. So Republican Party voters in the state may have to choose someone else. Donald Trump will not be on the ballot list. It's not certain yet, and that's for two reasons. First, the order has not come into effect. And second, it can always be challenged in a higher court. Let me explain. Every American state works differently. In Maine, the Secretary of State gave the order, but she has deferred its implementation. It will only come into effect when the courts give a go-ahead. Meanwhile, Donald Trump can always challenge the order. He has 5 days to appeal. If the court rules against him, he'll be disqualified. So as of today, he's not out of the race, technically. And then there is the US Supreme Court, the country's highest court. If it rules that Trump can contest, then no state will have the right to disqualify him. An order from the top court can stop all these individual state challenges. You know how many challenges there are? 30. Trump's candidacy has been challenged in 30 American states, and the rest could follow. So a Supreme Court judgment would put an end to all of this, one way or the other. And on what grounds do these states want to disqualify Trump? The Insurrection Clause. This is about Trump's role in the US Capitol riots, what happened on the 6th of January 2021. Hundreds of Trump supporters stormed the US Capitol. There was a riot. Critics believe Trump orchestrated it, and that counts as an insurrection. They believe Trump tried to incite an insurrection and a violent uprising against the state. So he should be barred from contesting for public office. That is the Insurrection Clause. This amendment was added in 1868 after the American Civil War. The purpose was to prevent members of the losing side from regaining power, to handicap leaders from the American South. That was the original idea. The Insurrection Clause was not added thinking about modern US politics. But the clause still exists, and so the US Constitution prohibits insurrectionists from standing for the presidency. Donald Trump has thus been barred from contesting in Maine's Republican primary election. He was disqualified by the Secretary of State in Maine. She's a Democratic Party member, and he was disqualified by her, not by a court. But the decision is still on hold until a court ruling, like I said. In Colorado, it was the other way around. The court disqualified Trump, but it's waiting for the Supreme Court to take the final call. So both the states are pushing this through the legal route, perhaps to put pressure on the US Supreme Court to take a stand. So far, the Supreme Court has been dragging its feet. Most American courts have. It seems like no one wants to rule on the Insurrection Clause. Modern democracy is about people electing their leaders, and many feel that unelected judges should not have a say in this, which makes sense. But now that the legal challenges are being made, the state courts seem to be trying to avoid this responsibility. Everyone is looking for someone higher to blame, and that will be the US Supreme Court. And while all this drama unfolds in America, let's zoom out a bit. Look at it from an outsider's perspective. We see a country going to polls, an incumbent president with only one viable challenger and a solid challenger. Suddenly, his name is taken off the ballot in 2 of the president's strongholds. And in one case, a member of the ruling party removes the opponent. They call him a security threat. What does this sound like? A shining example of Western democracy or some sort of banana republic? Imagine if this were happening somewhere else. The US would have begun the lectures on free and fair elections. They love teaching the world about this, free and fair elections. Just ask Bangladesh. The Americans are actively meddling there, asking the government to speak to the opposition. But at home, their opposition candidate is being disqualified in one state after another. So what should the world do now? Send observers to the US election? Or add it to the list of backsliding democracies?